So what is the high road for a man in a divorce and a custody battle who's going through false accusations, who's being attacked by other family members? You get all the shit talking, the trash talking, the belittling, the other relatives, third parties as they call them, talking to your own children about how dad is a bad person. What's the high road in all this? Why are we told to do it? And this unfolds one of the major problems with men in our culture. It's just a disturbing thing. We're actually on our Rising Man call. It's Friday. It is, what is the date today? It's May something, if I could look at my phone, May 10th. And we do a ton of these calls. We got like 30 hours of calls a week for guys going through custody battles, divorce, and then on top of that, I'm probably gonna do 5 more hours of private calls. There's a lot of stuff that we do working with guys on this, and it's good work. It's gonna save you a ton of money, perspective, headache, and the overall goal in this is not just so that you win your case or get that. That's one of the fundamental bedrocks of it, but it's so that you could actually be a better father for your kids, and that's really important. That's not defined by me. That's guided by our group, by me, so that you can be the best father you are, that is determined by you with your values, your culture, all that sort of good stuff. Okay, we're gonna pause for just one moment here. And I was editing this video, and I'm trying to edit about 200 videos a month to put them out quick for social media and shorts and TikToks and YouTube, longer ones and all this sort of stuff. And I started to edit this one with more things. Now, here's the thing is, life after divorce is good, and the importance of this video is massive, which is not about life after divorce. Life after a brutal custody battle, getting totally wrecked and traumatized as a man. It's super important to know that you can come back from this in so many different ways. And I'm just, God, you can. So it's interesting because I've been traveling around for the last 5 years all over the world, and I've kind of kept it private off of my YouTube, and it's pretty crazy. I've been wanting to show it, but after you don't do it for 2 years, you start to get wise. Anyway, there's a lot of different B-roll on this. Some of it has already been featured on some other videos, but there's even more, and more that I can't show just because I have different commitments with different tribes or different people I've been working with. And I realized there was no real narrative over the B-roll that I'm showing, which a lot of times on YouTube stuff there isn't. But this video is important. Look, I have been coaching men at deep levels, running a crazy business that deals with male trauma. I've been doing it for 18 years, and there is a dissonance in our culture about what male trauma is, what healing male trauma looks like, and what a man can be after that. And if you're going through a custody battle and you're getting rocked and you think that life is completely over, man, please just join my groups. Do something to get better. Almost every single point of advice for you out there is BS, whether it's coming from men or women, your friends, your family. It has good intentions, but go out and live a really good life. You can. Okay, let's get on with this video that I shot earlier today on a Rising Man call. Woo! Triggered in all these ways. We want to hurt people, we hate people, somebody's attacking us, they're making up false claims about us, and we always hear this thing over and over again: we got to take the high road. And this is my problem with men's advice. Men's advice in our modern culture is to forgive, take the high road, be better, get over it, get rid of the toxic masculinity. This is just because you didn't get to feel when you were a kid and your dad told you not to cry, and all this sort of different stuff. This is this totally irresponsible version of what men need to do to better themselves. And it causes terrorism, it causes pain. It's basically like and we'll all understand this because our culture is so woke with it, but if we were to coach women who've never experienced a female problem like a female sexual assault definitely happens to men. We talk about it a lot in our groups, and this also ties into this in even more horrific ways of how men are ignored. Things like terminating a pregnancy, things like a miscarriage, things like whatever a woman's problem is that's traumatic. And I, who have never experienced this, who have no experience in it, but only know the pain that a man can feel from misinterpreting that, give her advice. That's what it's like for our culture to give advice to men going through any traumatic experience. Not just divorce and custody, but this is overwork, this is depression, lack of worth, fatherhood being disenfranchised, parental alienation. And of course, women have these too. But in coaching men for all these years, this narrative of men not being taught to feel could be true to some degree. What an easy button to press. What an easy thing to say to make us think we're smart on social media when we're giving answers to men so they could go to the seminar where they all sit down and do a breathing exercise and start crying and yelling, and some guy dressed up like a shaman coaches them through it. What a great thing. What a great thing. That does not solve a man's problems. That does not solve a man who's going through day by day pain, whether that comes from PTSD, drug addiction, custody, not seeing your kids, parental alienation. This does not solve it. That could be very beneficial. I'm all for it. I've done those things. I've been in those circles. I'm not against it. But to say this is how somebody who lost their kids, who's being attacked, who's being falsely accused of sexual abuse to their kids, something they didn't do, so the kids they love, the kids that they were around every single day, and their family, their friends are being told that they're an abuser and now nobody's talking to them. This does not solve the problem. So let's talk a little bit about the high road and what needs to happen men need to fight. And I'm sick of this too, because in the whole men's movement, they all talk about warriors and kings and being a badass, and you get your alphaness back. And here in evolution, we are afraid of a leopard, so we did this. These people are talking out of their ass, right? And it sucks. I got in a big discussion with Owen Cook, who's a great guy. I just did an interview with him. Been friends with him for like 20 years. And he said, well, Steve, you're right. They're not helping people, and you are, and I see that, and that's why I'm trying to help you out. But at least somebody's talking about it. And I was like, man, if you're sharing the truth about male pain, about helping men, but on the pretense of a lie, on the pretense of what a warrior or a king or strength or fortitude or integrity is, then that is even worse. And so we get to this thing where we have men who are desperate, looking for answers in a custody battle with their kids, and nobody's helping them out with the law, but they're pointing out the problem. Men get screwed over in court. Everybody says that. Everybody megaphones on it, but nobody's trying to help them. And the help that they give them isn't even true. And then they say, but the courts are screwed. Give up and be strong. Be an alpha. Here's how you be an alpha. You get some status, you get some money, and you get some chicks. And then you're good. That's not going to fix it. And I'd even say I'm somebody who has lived in all three of those things, is a big part of my life. And I think they're beneficial and they're great. But man, that does not make you a good dad. That does not make pain go away when it comes and you blame yourself for your family being lost. And then we get these guys going, man, my family's lost. I'm a pussy and I need to be alpha. No, you are devastated that your family is estranged from you now because it was your most important thing. And you can be sad and you can have pain. And here's the thing. The more that we teach a false narrative of strength, the more that we don't recognize the actual problems happening to men, the more that we give a false solution, whether that's coming from the PC side of things saying, just get over it and find a hobby and you're good and whatever, or from the man side of things, which is selling you another bag of lies, which is like money, sex, status, power, all that sort of stuff is going to make it all better. The more that we have that, the more we cannot see. And we think the person showing real strength is a lie. And straight up in all of this, if you're being attacked, you have to attack back. You have to be hard. You have to do the warrior shit, but not like a warrior back in the day, which is brutality or violence. You have to be a warrior in court. You have to be able to win. If somebody is harassing you, file an order. If you think that doesn't make you a man because you should be able to talk and have whatever words and this sort of thing, no, this is how you need to be a man. Because if you do have words and you do talk, guess what the modern man struggles with? That puts him in jail. If you handle it like a man, and like your ex is probably saying he's a pussy or he's not handling it like an adult and we wanted to be adults, No, man, that is not how it works. You have to go to court. You have to file the restraining orders against them. You have to get on paper in a way that the court is going to see that this person is harassing you, breaking the law, causing parental alienation, causing abuse to the kids in the way that the court reads it. Not how you and your mom and your brother and us on our calls talk about how it sucks, but exactly how your judge is going to interpret this in the best possible way, which means you also have to do your homework. So part of being a strong man in our culture is learning how to fight and go through those horrible pains. Like, I'm sick of the narrative of what a warrior is in our culture, coming from writings from Marcus Aurelius, from some nerd who's never even handled confrontation in his life. Right? We have to understand that every time we use our power as men, our strength as men, it comes with a price. Nothing is free. Every time I get angry, every time I take a stand against my ex or whoever in her family who's doing something to attack me, it is going to come with a price. And I need to bring it back to balance as a man. I need to bring it back to order, even if my family is not there. One of the crazy things that happens so much, and this is another thing I hate about the men's movement, or I'm highly critical about, let's not say hate, but I think is pretty improper, is when we start playing tick for tack. Yes, she's attacking you. Yes, she's hitting below the belt. You might react, and I definitely have done so and hit below the belt back. Sometimes you can't help yourself, but that isn't the answer either. When we're talking about male wisdom, when we're talking about male strength, when we're talking about how to better things, when we're talking about how we can move forward in our lives to be a great man 2 years after this, when all the dust is settled, we need to have something that we can be proud of. And yes, as men, we're going to be attacked in horrible ways. Look, I was put in jail. I was told by tons of people thought I was a child abuser for many, many years. And then it was admitted that it was a mistake. It was a misinterpretation and an overreaction from the courts, and, parents got a little out of hand. A parent who accused me of abusing my kids. It didn't really happen, whatever the narrative is. And I'm actually thankful for that, because it really helps. It brings some clarity to it. After years go by, what is the best thing you can do? Probably that. But in that whole situation, I'm supposed to be good. I'm supposed to get over it. I'm supposed to find a hobby. I'm supposed to get money, sex, power. I'm supposed to get a high road that's going to forgive that. No, the high road is to fight it. The high road is to say, no, that is wrong. You should have consequences for this, and I'm going to hold you to that. And then we could talk about what forgiveness is. And then we could talk about what looking past things is. Then we could talk about what co-parenting should be, what is in the best interest of the child. Because when you have something harming your child, it needs to stop. I cannot stand for that. And this is what's so important. And just because that's happening to me doesn't mean I get to do it back. And this is kind of a crazy thing. A lot of people were critical of me. The fanboys of masculinity, the commentators. One of the things I was talking about on this call is try being a men's coach. Try being a men's coach that is established in working with guys on this. And then all of a sudden somebody's saying, you abused your kids, and a bunch of people turn on you. Try being that. You're the bastard liar. You're the Tartuffe, which means an imposter. You're the Tartuffe of our culture. Try being that. And then 8 years later, you're married, you're good, you have a great life, you have a beautiful family, a family that I love, I still love very much. But that breaks apart, and then people comment, oh man, what a pussy, what a beta, what a cuck. All these people that I worked with in commentary of that. And so let me tell you from that. In that case, in 2019, I had the opportunity to put my ex in jail. I had the opportunity to put a protective order against her. But I knew what a protective order did to my kids previously, and to my family previously, and to me, and it did no good. You as a man, even my attorney was like, dude, we could do this, Steve. And I said, what was the plan before? What was the plan before? And what is the team of guys that I had with me to talk in my ear? Because you can't think straight in that situation. What is the plan? What is the plan? It's not to do that. The plan is that you move forward in a way that is best for your family, and you fight as hard as you can to get that result. But to destroy her, ruin her life, even though her very intention in 2019, my ex, who I was madly in love with, was a beautiful person, could also be very wicked and evil. What did I do? And it's so funny because now she's like, but you talk shit on me online. You know what the result of that was? You know what the result of her making up a lie that was thought through, calculated 4 months, which I had record and documentation of her making up a lie that I was going to abuse the kids if I fought for custody, if I just stood up and said, I want to be a dad and you don't get to call the shots, which is actually literally what she said. I get to call the shots. You have no power in this. It's all recorded. Maybe I can find the audio and play it. Well, I'm not going to edit it. But in that, you know what the result of that is? If she did try and go to the police in this, but my attorney acted much quicker, I would be in jail. I would be in a jail for child abusers. In a jail for child abusers, some of my friends that have been in those jails, whether they were serving some other violent crime or whatever, they can't sleep because everybody's being raped the whole night through. And your only chance of that not happening, of being sodomized and have pipes hammered down your throat and all this different stuff for you abusing kids, even though you didn't do it, the result of the only way to get that to stop is to be in solitary confinement. I don't know what's better. And just because a woman was scared in that, we don't see that as bad. So in this situation, I didn't do tick for tack. I didn't do that. I did not put her in jail. But at the same time, I know exactly what the situation was. I stopped it. Thankfully, I stopped it. And hopefully I don't have to do it again. But this is how men need to start thinking. Because if we sabotage a family, and let's look at the evidence of this. We talk about parental alienation all the time. If we sabotage a family and we cut out a parent just because they tried to cut us out, you know what damage that does to a kid? Rates for addiction, rates for depression, rates for suicide, all these things go up. And you might sit there and say, well, you know, that may not be the factor. But if there's another opportunity where you can minimize those things, or you might say, well, they're already happening. If there's a way where you can minimize those things for your kids, you would do it. And if you would avoid looking at that, if you would avoid looking, this is why parenting is so hard. That's why being a dad is so hard. And this is why I want to hammer on this so hard, is that if you avoid looking at that there could be another option, when I'm telling you, when I've lived it, right? When I have other guys in my group who've lived it, you're avoiding looking at that. Isn't that a form of abuse? Isn't that a form of allowing your child to suffer because you can't work through your own shit? Your own shit that was horrifically given to you by another person. But that's what being a father is. What happens if your kid gets sick? What happens if another tragedy happens where it's not your ex who's attacking you or family members attacking you? You'd have to step it up as a dad. So right now as dads in this custody battle, we have to step it up. This is a long enough rant. I'm going to get back to the call. And if you guys want to be on these calls, you want support from men in this, go to The Rising Man, get involved in it. You can watch testimonies from guys in there. It's a real thing, man. It's a pretty cut and dry equation. We're going to save you tons of money on your legal battle. We're going to say it's really obvious the work that gets done here. And I'm not trying to be belligerent in this, but look, man, there's no reason to get screwed. There's an answer. And we care, and it's a big deal for us. All right, I'm out. Back to the call.